Hello, everybody. Today we will talk through the Zephyr product family. Zephyr's test management features are going to be available through every Zephyr product in our test management suite. We are inside of the Atlassian ecosystem, inside of my apps project, inside of Jira, and you will see the Zephyr product icon available here on the left-hand side because Zephyr is a native application. Once you click on Zephyr, it will bring you to the test case repository. The test case repository in Zephyr is available on the project-by-project basis. So if I were to change out of my apps project into this sample app project and click on Zephyr, the tests within this test case repository are completely separate. We do have the ability to reuse test cases at both the test step level and the test case level within Zephyr. So let's go do that today. We'll jump back to the apps project and jump to my test case repository. The test case repository is completely reusable for test cases across projects. So once we start planning our sprints, it's very easy for us to reuse test cases. We do have the ability to organize the test cases in the test case repository in folders and subfolders, and there's no limits on the amount of folders or subfolders that we have here to quickly and easily add test cases to sprints. Or if you want to design a more component level structure inside of Zephyr, you are able to add test cases here to help with organizational purposes. You are also able to filter every test case inside of Zephyr based off of any of the entities, whether they are custom or default. So I can expand my search criteria, look for specific test cases that have certain values based off of automated situations, manual situations, or any custom field that I have created or default field. So we'll make an example here of specifically the labels that are manual. And there's obviously a subset of them, right? 0 test cases have the manual tag associated to it. Let us reset these filters. You are able to save these filters too. So if I wanted to create a reusable filter that looked through multiple entities, that is something that we can do. Let us create a test case here and start the test case authoring process. When we create a test case, we have a couple of different views of the test case itself. We will quickly just start with the name. We'll call this a manual test case. We are able to enter fields data in directly through the UI like so, but I will change to show the second viewpoint. We will quickly just look at that test case. And by default in Zephyr, we'd have a number of default fields as well as custom fields. Default field is going to be everything above the custom field entity. So that's going to be the objectives, the preconditions. These are rich text editors, so we are able to add images, charts, graphs into these text entry fields. Then you get to the detail fields of the test case itself, statuses, whether they are custom statuses or default statuses. We'll get how we configure those in a second. Priorities, which can also be customized as well. Jira components too here as well. We have the owner, which is by default the creator of the test case. Estimated runtime is helpful if you want to dictate the amount of time you think a test case will take to execute and then see and compare it to an actual amount of time so we can do sprint planning more efficiently. And we'll add that manual label here like we were talking about earlier. There are a number of custom fields that are available too. Text entry fields, user select pick, date pick, dropdowns that are multi-select, single select, anything like that. I'll show the configuration of the custom fields next. The configuration is available in the top right corner. From the configuration, we're going to have access to our environments, labels, and iterations that we were talking about earlier. We also have the custom priorities, as well as statuses too. So there are many different types of statuses, whether they're default or custom. We have custom fields as well. We'll talk about the test case custom fields. There's many different types of custom fields as well, whether they are user pick, date pick, multi-line dropdown, single line. We also can do required custom fields. So we can force our developers, testers, QA, automation to follow the same standard and practices. And there are custom fields and custom statuses across different scopes as well too. Let's jump back into Zephyr and start dictating our test case. We can dictate our test case using the test script option. The test script option has a few different ways to dictate our test script. We can utilize the step-by-step and the plain text field. We have the capability to use BDD Gherkin as well too. Step-by-step, I prefer personally because we can reuse test cases at the test step level. We can also alert for bugs at the test step level and add evidence at the test step level. So it's the most granular in my opinion. That's why I like it the best. I will write the actions in Gherkin because I have a bad habit of that, and we will continue here. So given the browser is open and I navigate to the store, any expected test data that we want to interject, this is available through all of the Zephyr product families as well. If you want to interject individual parameters, username equals Matt, or if you want to interject predefined lists and iterate through our test cases using test data sets, that is a capability here too. And the expected result. What does the expected result look like when it is finished? Like I said earlier, all these text entry fields are rich text editors, so we could add it in images if we would like to. If you want to add attachments, that can also be done at the test step level, as well as the test case level here too. But what if I want to reuse test cases within my test case repository? I can utilize this call to test action item. This call to test action item lets me reuse any test case from any test case repository that I have access to. So I can quickly change Jira projects to that sample app project and reuse the test case of my choosing. I can reuse specific versions of test case. And once I import in that test case, we'll see that it's a reference to the test case. It's coming from the SAM project, test case 2, version 1. We have a concept of versions within Zephyr. So if you would like to perform these component level structures without causing, downstream issues when you were to say make a small change to this test case, you could create a new version. The versions are going to be saved. So if you do eventually need to make a change to that test case, you can, but it just helps to prevent those downstream issues from occurring. The associated steps would also then appear if there were steps here as well, as you can see. Traceability is how we link our requirements to our test cases within Zephyr. You can either create new issues or add existing issues. For example, if you had an existing task or store you wanted to link to, that is not the only way that we can integrate within the Jira environment, though. Generally, I like to work off of my sprint boards. On these sprint boards, it tells you what you have to do and what you have to work on today. On these items, you'll be able to see if there is any or no Zephyr association to the object. You'll be able to see that on this story, we have multiple test cases associated here, the associated sprints, the status of these sprints, and the associated release here as well too. You can see that there are direct links to all of these objects if I wanted to hyperlink there. But most importantly, if I did not start the process to create Zephyr test cases, I can create test cases directly from that story item, create sprints, add associations to existing sprints very easily. And when I do create them from the story, that association happens automatically. Let us continue within the test planning within Zephyr. So we've created a test case. Let us execute that test case, whether it's manual or through automation. When we plan a test case and a plan and execution, that will be done through a test cycle. A test cycle is going to be a single or a collection of test cases. So I like to consider test cycles as the sprints. We also have a higher entity called test plans. Test plans are going to encompass multiple test cycles. You don't execute test plans. They're more for reporting across test cycles, maybe in different Jira projects, or if you want to alert on maybe tie the Jira epic to that higher level entity, that's a good use case for a test plan as well. Let's quickly create a test cycle, and we will execute one as well. We have the same UI as before, so we'll just call this a sprint and get started. Let's edit this sprint. And within this sprint, we have default fields as well as custom fields available too. I just don't have custom fields enabled for this sprint. If I wanted to associate a Jira release version or a specific iteration like we talked about earlier, that's something I can do very easily as well. Let's add test cases to this sprint. And I'm not limited to the single Jira project that I'm in as well. If I need to change Jira projects, add test cases from another Jira project, that's something that I absolutely can do. If I also need to add the same test case multiple times to test across different environments, different iterations, that's something that's a capability as well here too. Let me bulk assign these environments. A tester will be myself. We can bulk assign them release versions too, as well as iterations. This is a Jira release, a Jira version. I will change some of these just for filtering purposes. If I got sick and we needed to reassign this to a different tester, that's totally okay. We could do that after the fact too. We can also link these test cycles directly to any Jira issues, so like stories, requirements, epics if we would like to. Let's see what the test player view looks like from a manual perspective. So we are going to walk through the test player from a manual perspective. You do have the capability to execute the whole test case at the parent level. You also have the ability to execute test steps at the step level. So once you change the value of a test step, it will change the value to in progress until the first non-passing value. We will fail the second test step, and you can see the value changes to fail. Let's add a defect at the test step level. We can create a new defect or search for an existing one. We'll create a new one. We can create whatever issue types we have configured in our system. Mine is just considered a bug. We will just call this a defect. It'll automatically get added to the to-do or whatever Jira workflow you have considered. So it'll say done, finished, resolved whenever that's finished. You can see the test defect is going to be present across that execution, but if you would like, you could also add a defect at the execution level itself. There are reports that go all the way into the test step reason for failure. So to maintain test step continuity, I'm going to set all below to an executed value. We will set them all below to blocked, so that can be reported on. If we want to add evidence, you could add screenshots very easily to the actual result, add test step attachments as well as test execution attachments too. If you would like to dictate your duration as well, you could press play and actually record the amount of time it takes you to finish the full test case execution. Or if you forgot to, you can always overwrite this afterwards. And this is going to be our test planning versus actual execution time. So 5 minutes. Let us go to test plans now. The test plans essentially allow us to group multiple test cycles into a test plan to report on. Like I said, is generally used for that higher level association to a Jira epic. That's a good use case. And we don't actually execute them. So we'll just call this new feature. We'll create it and we'll quickly edit it. So simply what you do is, like before, you had default fields and custom fields you could create, but we would simply add associations to Jira issues and existing test cycles. Again, this could be done across Jira projects with multiple test cycles to look at a full regression or a full, product or feature. There is a number of built-in reports that are available throughout the Zephyr family and across all of its features. I have 31 different reports that are available, and there's a number of dashboards and widgets available too. These reports do work across Jira projects very, very easily, and we can filter any of these reports down to any field, any status, customer default. Let me quickly go and show that. We'll start with traceability reports, then go to execution reports. The traceability reports are awesome. We'll first start with a basic report within the coverage report, which essentially will show us the requirement to test case coverage that we have. We can filter by a number of things, but I'm going to look at a requirement to test case coverage, which is going to be a story in my use case. This could be stories associated to a sprint, stories with a certain value, stories in an entire project or multiple projects. When I generate this, we're going to clearly be able to see where the gaps in my testing effort is for those requirements. And you can see the test cases that are the requirement that don't have test cases associated for them. I do prefer the traceability report because not only does it give that requirement to test case coverage, we'll run the same exact filter criteria, but it will also include evidence as well. What test cases were executed, which ones passed, which ones failed, what environments were they executed in, as well as if there's any issues associated to it and the status of those. So this just provides the same requirement to test case coverage, but more specific information onto the executed result. There are a lot of different reports that are available. We'll quickly jump to the execution reports. These execution reports do work just like the traceability reports across multiple Jira projects very, very easily. They do have the same filter criteria. We'll just generate one report to start, and we'll be able to see the overall progress, executed results, any effort dictated during testing, and issues reported. We can see that there's over 2,000 test cases in that subset of data that I selected, and it's going to be all execution information across those multiple projects, coverage based off of sprint and environment as well too. But I have a really easy capability where I can filter by any field, any status that I want across multiple different scopes. I'm going to filter specifically for priorities that are a high priority, but there are any field, any value, default or custom, you are able to filter by. And it could be multiple values, you can be inclusive or exclusive as well. So I said I was going to filter by a priority that is high. I assume it's going to be a subset of 2,000, and just like that, it's 57 test cases. None of the test cases have actually been executed that have that high priority, so we should probably change that, and none of these executed reports are then going to show. There's a lot of different reports, and I do like to highlight the test execution results detailed report too. That will give us information into the test step with like reason for failure. So you can get reports that are detailed all the way to the test step. If you need to review or have like an audit report for a specific sprint, you could filter specifically down to that sprint and then look at an audit report specifically. So this would give much more granular information as to what happened during that sprint or release. So for example, an automated build, which has a number of executions in it, you can see all the reasons for failure, which ones failed, and the associated results on a test step level. There are a lot of different reports. Like I mentioned, there's over 31 different reports. There's also a number of dashboard widgets available too. These dashboards are the exact same across all of the Zephyr product family. So there's a number of different dashboard reports as well. We can see here, there's 21 different dashboard widgets. These widgets work the exact same way as the reports. I have the same multi-project capability, the same custom query filter criteria is here as well too. So every Zephyr family product has those capabilities I just ran through. Now we're going to talk about some of the advanced automation capabilities that are available in Zephyr Standard that is not available in the Zephyr Essential. The main product we will go through is Zephyr Standard, which does include this automation capability. Let us jump to the automation capability now. So we are going to be within our same Zephyr environment, and the biggest difference here is going to be automation. So instead of test management, we have test management, all the test management features I discussed earlier, as well as additional automation capabilities here too. So the automation capabilities I do want to touch on are the no-code automation capabilities that are available through Zephyr Standard. We'll quickly click Automate Test here, and what we'll have to do is test against a web-based application. So I'm going to use this example e-commerce demonstration site. You click on basketball, it brings you to the basketballs that are available, but nothing actually ever ships. Let's quickly click Automate Test to run this longer end-to-end test case against that. This no-code automation capability will essentially take your library of manual test cases, turn them into automation. So let's do that. The first time we run the automated test, it will do what's called test step suggestions. Test step suggestions follow rules of machine automation, only one action per test step, do spell check, etc. You don't have to approve it. You could choose whatever syntax you want. I'm going to improve it for this situation. Now, what's occurring on the left-hand side are the manual actions dictated in the Zephyr test steps. And then the right-hand side will be the automation that's occurring. So I didn't have to build this automation. Zephyr is utilizing this under the hood for us already. This capability allows us to essentially scale our manual test case coverage into automation. Zephyr Essential Standard, they already integrate with external automation tools through API, but this allows us to scale our manual test case coverage into automation. Additional features that will be included are if you would like to create a test case and use record and replay and playback technology inside of this Zephyr standard no-code automation feature, you are able to do that as well too. Let us quickly see how the record and replay technology works. Let's go back to the test runs. All users of Zephyr will have this capability where you can use record and replay technology to create automated tests instead. We will still test using our web-based application, the Bear Store. We'll start a test name, and we can determine a different profile of that web test we want to occur. We'll quickly start beginning recording, and then we are going to be able to utilize record and replay capabilities to create our test cases that could then be utilized within the Zephyr product family as well. So this is just a new way for us to record our automation instead of relying on that natural language in the test steps. So if we were to build new automation, this would be a great way to create automation very, very quickly and publish those results directly back to Zephyr afterwards. Now let's talk about the features of Zephyr Advanced. And what we will get is some extra features as well as extended test runs. Some of the extra features include the ability to run our tests across browsers. So we can take our test case and not only run it across Chrome, but we can run it across 4 different browsers to help ensure consistent performance across all the major browsers. We also have the ability to execute our test case in parallel. We get up to 3 test runs for parallel execution simultaneously. This will help accelerate our testing speeds. There are 2 other features as well that are available within this Zephyr Advanced platform. It's going to be the SMS and email capability that we get. So with each account, we essentially get the capability to, let me just quickly run this test, do a number of validations, text-based validations, image-based validations. But there's one other testing type that I want to highlight, which is SMS and email-based validations too. So Zephyr Advanced gives you this feature where we can actually test that we get a certain response in a email or a text body to validate that an order was created, or if we want to validate that we get a dual authentication workflow, we are able to do that. Let me quickly pause this execution and we will see just how we can do that. So when I will quickly add a step, we do get an email or SMS test step. So essentially what happens is we give users access to an email and a phone number to do this validation. If you want to validate, that we get a certain field within the response, a certain variable value, we can validate all of those as well. On top of those features, you also get 4 times the amount of test runs than you do with Zephyr Standard. A test run is going to be those automated test runs from either no-code automation or from the record and playback feature that I'm highlighting in front of you. In Zephyr Standard, you do get some base runs, but with Zephyr Advanced, you get 4 times the amount of runs. I hope that was useful and have a nice rest of your day.